Welcome to Aunt Blanche's Story Corner and to another adventure with Uncle Wiggily. You know, we've learned that he has all kind of friends from all sorts of places, and especially from other storybooks. Well, we're going to find in this story that I have chosen to read today that he meets up with a friend from a fairy tale and a couple of friends from some nursery rhymes. So let's just see who he meets up with in this adventure as I read to you another story by Howard R. Garis, Uncle Wiggily and Puss in Boots. "Where are you going, Uncle Wiggily?" called Nurse Jane Fuzzy Wuzzy one day as the muskrat lady saw the bunny gentleman hopping away from his hollow stump bungalow. "I'm going to get myself a new pair of rubber boots," said Mr. Longears. "My old ones are wearing out, and they have little holes in them, so they leak. We've had so much rain of late that I will need a new pair of boots if I'm to look for any more adventures. So I'm going to the shoemaker's." "But why are you taking your old boots along?" asked Nurse Jane, for Uncle Wiggily had them under his paw. "I'm taking them to the shoemaker to show him what size I want my new boots," answered the bunny. "Also, he may be able to mend the old ones so they'll do to wear in the garden." "That's a good idea," said Miss Fuzzy Wuzzy. "And while you're out, I wish you would go to the 7 and 8 cent store. I want some needles and thread, some balls of red yarn, and some white flannel." "My, all that? Are you going to make a bed quilt?" asked the bunny gentleman. "Oh, no," laughed Nurse Jane. "I'm going to use the white flannel to make me a new petticoat. The red yarn I'm going to use to knit Sammy and Susie Littletail, the rabbit children, some mittens, and the needle and thread I will use to sew up a hole in the lace curtain." "Very well," spoke Uncle Wiggily politely. "You shall have all three, and I'll get myself a new pair of boots." It didn't take the bunny rabbit gentleman long to hop to the shop of the monkey doodle shoemaker, where Mr. Longears bought himself a new pair of rubber boots. "As for those old ones," said the monkey chap, "I can mend them for you, so they'll do to wear many times yet." "Please do so," begged the bunny, and when his old boots were mended, he carried them over his shoulder with the new ones, for he was wearing his shoes. Along he hopped to the 7 and 8 cent store. Uncle Wiggily bought the needles, thread, white flannel, and red yarn for the rabbit children's mittens, and he was hopping back to his hollow stump bungalow when, all of a sudden, coming from behind a sassafras bush, he heard a voice saying, "Oh dear, how sad. Now, I suppose they'll take me out of all the storybooks, and the children will never love me any more." This is strange," thought Uncle Wiggily to himself. "I wonder who it is that can't be in the storybooks any more. That is very sad. I wouldn't want them to put me out of all the bedtime storybooks in which I have my adventures." So the bunny gentleman looked around the corner of a lollipop bush, and there he saw a cat, dressed in a coat, trousers, and cap, but without anything on his hind paws, sitting on a stump. "Good afternoon, Mr. Cat," politely greeted Uncle Wiggily. "You seem to be in trouble." "I am," was the answer. "Only my name is Puss, and not Cat, though, of course, that's what I really am. Puss in Boots is my right name, but there's no use trying to keep it any longer." "Why not?" Uncle Wiggily asked. "Because I've lost my boots," answered Puss. "A little while ago I met a cross dog who chased me. I ran across a swamp and became stuck in the mud. I managed to pull my paws out of the boots, but the boots themselves remained fast in the mud. Now I have no boots, and I can no longer be called Puss in Boots. I shall have to keep out of all the storybooks." "Nonsense," laughed Uncle Wiggily. "Why, I have 2 pairs of boots right here. Take one of them. I can only wear 1 pair of boots at a time." And very politely, Mr. Longears gave his new boots to the cat. "Oh, but I can't take your new boots," objected Puss. "The old ones will do me very well." "No," kindly insisted Uncle Wiggily. "Please take the new boots. Since my old ones were mended, they'll answer me very well, and they'll be easier on my paws." So Uncle Wiggily gave Puss the new boots, keeping the old mended ones for himself. And as the cat put the boots on his paws, he looked just as he ought to, like his pictures in the storybooks. "Now I can keep my place. The children won't miss me. Thank you, Uncle Wiggily," mewed Puss. "Pray do not mention it," said the bunny. "I'm glad I don't have to carry 2 pairs of boots." So Mr. Longears hopped on a little further, and soon he heard some tiny voices saying, "Oh, Mother dear, look here, our mittens we have lost." "Oh, I should know who they are," said the bunny. "Those must be the 3 kittens." And surely enough they were, as the bunny saw a moment later when he turned around the corner of a mulberry tree. There were 3 little pussy kittens holding up their paws for their mother to see, and there wasn't a single mitten on any one of those paws. What do you think of that? "What? Lost your mittens? You careless kittens! Now you can't have any pie!" Thus sang the mother cat. And when the 3 little kittens who had lost their mittens began to cry, Uncle Wiggily felt so sorry for them that he stepped up and said, "Excuse me, Mrs. Cat, but I have a lot of red yarn I bought for Nurse Jane to knit mittens for Sammy and Susie Littletail. There's more than Miss Fuzzy Wuzzy needs, I'm sure, so I'll give you some to knit mittens for your kitties." "Oh, how kind you are," mewed the mother cat, as Uncle Wiggily gave her 3 balls of red yarn, still leaving plenty for the rabbit children's mittens. "Now you may have some pie, and I'll give Uncle Wiggily a piece too," said the cat mother to her kittens. "You're very kind," remarked Mr. Longears, "but I must hop on with the needle and thread and the piece of white flannel. Nurse Jane is going to make herself a new petticoat." So on hopped the bunny, while the mother cat sat down to knit some new mittens for her kittens, and Uncle Wiggily had not gone very far before all of a sudden he heard another sad mewing sound, and a voice said, "Dear me, the hole goes all the way through. I shall never be able to see Old Mother Hubbard this way. Oh, what an accident!" "That sounds like more trouble," thought Uncle Wiggily, and looking over the top of a stone wall, he saw a pussy-cat lady sitting on a stump, sadly looking at her skirt. "What is the matter?" asked Uncle Longears. "Oh, how you surprised me," mewed the cat lady. "But here's the trouble. I'm Pussycat Mole. I jumped over a coal, and in my best petticoat burned a great hole." And she showed the edge of her petticoat where, surely enough, a hole was burned through. "And I ought to be at Mother Hubbard's now, to go with her to the movies," said Pussycat Mole. "But alas, I cannot go." "Oh, yes, you can," said Uncle Wiggily. "Not with this big burned hole in my petticoat," mewed the cat. "Ah, but you shall sew on a patch," said the bunny. "I have here needle and thread and some white flannel. Can't you mend your petticoat with all those?" "Indeed I can," mewed Pussycat Mole. "Thank you so much." Uncle Wiggily gave her a needle and thread, and with her claws Miss Mole tore off a piece of white flannel, for there was more than Nurse Jane needed. She sewed the patch neatly on, and then, with her petticoat nicely mended, Pussycat Mole went to Mother Hubbard's. "Ah, how delightful it is to be helpful," said Uncle Wiggily as he hopped back to his bungalow. And he was very glad he had met the three cats, one after another. For a little later that day, the big bad woozy wolf chased the bunny. But the mother of the three kittens, after she had knit her mittens, tickled the wolf with her knitting needles. Puss, with the boots, stepped on the wolf's tail so hard that he cried, "Ouch!" And Pussycat Mole ran at the wolf with a piece of red stone, which she pretended was a red-hot coal that in her best petticoat had burned a great hole. "I'll burn you! I'll burn you!" she mewed at the wolf. "Then this is no place for me," he howled and ran away, not hurting the bunny at all. And how the bunny gentleman and the three cats laughed. So, if the elephant from the Noah's Ark doesn't drop a cold penny down the back of the goldfish and make it sneeze, then we'll have another story about Uncle Wiggily the next time. I hope you thought that story was as much fun as I did. And I also think it was so nice of Uncle Wiggily to say that there is nothing so nice as being able to help someone. I hope you get joy in being able to be a helper too. And maybe this week sometime you'll have an opportunity to be happy because you've gotten to help someone. I hope so. And I hope you will join me again next time in Aunt Blanche's Story Corner.